Northeast as a whole, we've seen over the past century or so, we've seen annual precipitation increase by about 4 inches on an annual average. That's across the region. What we really care about and what we really want to talk about, though, is what's happening in Vermont, because that 4-inch increase over 100 years doesn't hold true when you zoom down into our state. Now, when you do that and then you look at the past 30 years, so we had a 4-inch over 100 years. Maybe not such a big deal, something we can deal with on an annual basis. When you look at the past 30 years in different parts of Vermont, we see increases of up to 9 inches a year. So this is very different than that 4-inch increase. And certainly people are taking notice. In the Champlain Valley, we've seen an increase of 7 inches. I think a lot of people could attest to that. Anecdotally, they've experienced that. So certainly some challenges. And this is the top climate change story in Vermont, is this changing pattern of precipitation. This is borne out by some of the USDA Risk Management Agency data that they take around at some of their tables. This is a pie chart from Vermont that is based upon their crop insurance payments. And you can see the biggest slice of that pie. This is the first decade of the 2000s. Crop failures were due to excess moisture. So this just supports that data and the impact we've seen from that data, that increase of precipitation on farms in Vermont. I've looked at these pie charts and been down into the mid-Atlantic. I come from West Virginia, and these pie charts look very different as you start to move south out of Vermont and as you start to move west out of Vermont. All of a sudden, that excess moisture slice gets smaller and smaller, and that drought slice starts to dominate the pie. So we have different challenges in different parts of the country, but this is our challenge here. It's not just that we're seeing more rainfall, it's how that additional rainfall is coming. And this, again, is something I think a lot of people here can attest to. Anecdotally, they've seen the frequency of really intense storms has become greater and greater. We're seeing more of these heavy downpours than we used to, interspersed, and in many cases, interspersed by droughty periods. So it's more rainfall coming in shorter periods of time and interspersed by drought and leading to challenges there as well. If you look at the country as a whole, the Northeast has seen a 74% increase in these types of very heavy precipitation events, much greater than the rest of the country. And this is just reinforcing that this is the key challenge for us in agriculture in Vermont. And it's something the rest of the country is not necessarily facing. This leads to problems on the farm. And this is a picture of soil erosion from 2013 in a cornfield in Williston after a really intense storm cell that came through, knocked out the southbound lane of I-89 for, it was like a couple months they were working on that. I don't know if anybody travels that regularly and remembers that. This was after that storm. I'm standing in a gully that's up to mid-thigh on me, and Vern Grubinger took this photo, and there's probably a 1/4 acre behind him of similar erosion from one single storm. And the folks, there's a modeling group from the Midwest, and I have a projection that they've published that says that as we see increases in precipitation, we'll see this disproportionate increase in soil erosion from our lands. So if we think back to that 9-inch increase, for example, in the Northeast Kingdom, that's a 23% increase in annual precip. If this projection holds true, that would be a 40% increase in erosion, which is just staggering. I know it's different soils in the Midwest than we have here, but it certainly gives us pause.